Live India's Voice to the World. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Iran threatens US bases in response to strikes on nuclear sites, warning of irreparable consequences, while Israel continues to strike Iran, saying it's hitting military targets. Iranian ambassador to UN tells an emergency Security Council meeting that Israel and the US have sought to destroy diplomacy. UN chief warns of cycle of retaliation while Russia, China push for a ceasefire. IAEA Board of Governors to meet on Monday, a day after attacks on Iranian nuclear sites by the US, says there is no rise in radiation as of now. Chief Grossi voices fears over potential widening of the conflict. Oil prices at 5-month high as Iran closes Strait of Hormuz, affecting nearly a quarter of global oil shipments. India says has weeks of oil supply, imports continue via many routes. Under India's Operation Sindhu, 1,713 Indians evacuated so far from Iran. 162 more are being brought back from Israel. Evacuees praise Indian government amid chants of Hindustan Zindabad. Iran on Sunday threatened US bases in the West Asia after massive airstrikes that Washington said had destroyed Tehran's nuclear program. International concern focused on fears that the unprecedented US attacks would deepen conflict in the volatile region after Israel launched attacks on Iran earlier this month. Now Iran has also upped the warnings. In a televised address, an advisor to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said any country in the region or elsewhere that is used by American forces to strike Iran will be considered a legitimate target for Iranian armed forces. Meanwhile, people gathered Sunday in central Tehran to protest against the attacks. As Iran's leaders struck defiant tones, President Masoud Pezeshkian also vowed that the United States would receive a response to the attacks. Meanwhile, the Israeli army carried out strikes on Iranian military targets, including missile launch and storage sites on Sunday. The attacks were carried out on storage and missile launching infrastructure sites, as well as military satellites and radar sites. Israel also struck several parts of northwest Iran on Sunday, Iranian media reported, as fighting between the arch enemies raged. At least 3 people were killed on Sunday after an Israeli strike hit an ambulance in central Iran. Israel's military was checking results of the US raid on the deeply buried nuclear facility in Fordow, with a spokesman saying it was uncertain if Iran had already removed enriched uranium from the site. 9 members of the Revolutionary Guards were killed Sunday in Israeli attacks on central Iran. Satellite images reveal the before and after state of Iran's Fordow, Natanz and Isfahan nuclear sites following Sunday's US airstrikes. The images show visible damage to infrastructure targeted in the attack. It includes holes, craters on the top of ridge and tunnel entrances blocked that lead to underground facility. Meanwhile, the situation in West Asia has revealed deep divisions among nations. The UN Security Council met in an emergency session on Sunday following the US strikes. Russia, China and Pakistan circulated a draft resolution during the meeting, calling for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in the West Asia. During the meeting, Iran's ambassador to the UN, Amir Saeed Iravani, accused the United States of manipulating the Non-Proliferation Treaty into a political weapon used as a pretext for aggression and unlawful action.
The timing, nature and the scale of Iran's proportionate response will be decided by its armed forces. Throughout history, the resilient and united Iranian nation has withstood deeper wounded and faced more vicious enemies, and this time too. It will show its dignity, strength, and greatness to the world. All US allegations against Iran are unfounded, with no legal basis and politically motivated.
Acting U.S. envoy Dorothy Camille-Shea defended the strikes, saying Iran had obstructed negotiations and posed a growing threat.
Iran has long obfuscated its nuclear weapons program and stonewalled good faith efforts in recent negotiations. Madam President, the time finally came for the United States, in the defense of its ally and in the defense of our own citizens and interests, to act decisively. The Iranian regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. Let us be clear. Iran should not escalate.
Israel's ambassador Danny Danon echoed that warning, accusing of Iran, in fact, of using diplomacy to stall while it developed missiles and enriched uranium.
To those who now fake concern and cry escalation, we say, this is what the last line of defense looks like, when every other line has failed. Make no mistake, the cost of inaction would have been catastrophic. A nuclear Iran would have been a death sentence just as much for you as it would have been for us.
Russia's ambassador Vasily Nebenzia harshly criticized the U.S. for bypassing international diplomacy.
Таким образом, Вашингтон в очередной раз продемонстрировал полное пренебрежение к позиции международного сообщества и подтвердил, что ради интересов своего израильского союзника он готов не только закрывать глаза на убийство десятков тысяч палестинских женщин, детей и стариков, но и поставить на карту безопасность и благополучие всего человечества. Своими действиями Соединенные Штаты открыли ящик Пандоры, и никто не знает, к каким новым последствиям это может привести.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi arrived in Moscow on Sunday for talks after a U.S. attack on key nuclear facilities. Iran official news agency IRNA said that Araghchi will hold consultations with the Russian president and other senior officials regarding regional and international developments following the military aggression by the United States and Israel against Iran. Earlier, talking on the sidelines of Organization of Islamic Cooperation meeting in Istanbul on Sunday, the Iranian foreign minister said the United States and Israel crossed a major red line in attacking Iran's nuclear facilities. An exceptional meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency will be held on Monday in its headquarters in Vienna in response to the U.S. strikes. The emergency meeting is convened by the IAEA chief Rafael Grossi at the request of Iran following Israeli strikes on the country. Earlier, the UN's nuclear watchdog said it had not yet detected any increase in radiation levels at key nuclear sites in Iran after the US strikes. EU's Foreign Affairs Council meeting will also be held on Monday in Brussels. The Council will exchange views on the current situation in West Asia, including Israel-Iran conflict and Russia-Ukraine conflict. They will also hold discussions on China and European security. France is to send military A400M aircraft to Israel to fly out any of its citizens who wish to leave for Cyprus. The flights will be carried out subject to Israel's clearance and will supplement the chartered civilian flight already operating. France has some 250,000 of its citizens in Israel, around 10,000 registered on consular lists earlier Sunday. 160 French nationals, most of them vulnerable or in urgent situations, were flown to Paris from Jordan. Meanwhile, Australia has shown support to the United States strike on Iran and called for de-escalation and a return to diplomacy. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said Iran cannot be allowed to get a nuclear weapon. Australia had closed its embassy in Tehran on Friday and suspended bus evacuations from Israel after the strikes, but is making preparations for potential evacuations if airspace in Israel reopens. Australia said it has sent 2 defense planes to the West Asia in non-combat roles to assist civilian evacuations. Japan has also called for de-escalation of the conflict and said US strikes demonstrated Washington's determination to prevent Tehran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, after carrying out Operation Midnight Hammer on Iranian nuclear sites, US B-2 stealth bombers have returned to American soil. The aircraft touched down near Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri after completing the operation. A total of 7 B-2 bombers departed from the US and undertook an 18-hour round-trip mission to Iran, during which they deployed 14 bunker buster bombs on major underground nuclear facilities, including Fordow, Natanz and Isfahan. Let's understand some facts about Operation Midnight Hammer. The US used a variety of weapons and aircraft on its strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, including some that were used as a decoy while it moved B-2 stealth bombers into place to drop 14 bunker-busting GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators. As Operation Midnight Hammer got underway on Saturday, a group of B-2 bombers took off from their base in Missouri. B-2 bombers were noticed heading out towards the Pacific island of Guam, but they were a decoy. The real group of 7 bat-winged B-2 stealth bombers flew east towards Iran. In fact, bombers were undetected for 18 hours, keeping communications to a minimum, refueling in midair, the US military revealed on Sunday. As the bombers neared Iranian airspace, a US submarine launched more than 24 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles. US fighter jets flew as decoys in front of the bombers to sweep for any Iranian fighter jets and missiles. Decoy maneuvers were used as B-2s penetrated the Iranian airspace. The B-2 bombers dropped 14 bunker-busting GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, each weighing 30,000 pounds. US's midnight operation involved over 125 US military aircraft. US launched 75 precision-guided munitions, including more than 24 Tomahawk missiles in the operation. The attack on Iran's 3 main nuclear sites was the largest operational strike ever by B-2 stealth bombers. USA's B-2 operation also goes down as the second longest B-2 operation ever flown. Meanwhile, President Trump has urged Iran to end the conflict after he launched surprise strikes on a nuclear infrastructure. The president said they had a spectacular military success on Sunday, taking the bomb right out of Iran's hands. Trump, in a social media post, said, and I quote, "Monumental damage was done to all nuclear sites in Iran as shown by satellite images. Obliteration is an accurate term. The white structure shown is deeply embedded into the rock, with even its roof fell below ground level and completely shielded from flame. The biggest damage took place far below ground level. Bullseye." And while Trump did not directly advocate regime change in the Islamic Republic, he openly played with the idea. Posting on his Truth Social platform, Trump said, and I quote, "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? MEGA." And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Indian delegation in Ireland to attend 40th anniversary memorial of Kanishk bombing. Asian stock market, including India's Sensex and Nifty, fall as world awaits for Iran's response on US strikes. Carlos Alcaraz captured his 5th title of the season on Sunday at the HSBC Championships final.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD Live. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. In another big development, Iran has completely closed the Strait of Hormuz. Iran Air Force, in a social media post, stated that no oil or gas tankers can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has long threatened to choke the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a strait between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman and is one of the world's most strategically important choke points. Oil prices jumped on Monday to their highest since January amid West Asia tension. Brent crude futures was trading at $78.93 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude advanced to $75.73. Both contracts jumped by more than 3%, touching 5 months high before giving up some gains. Iran is OPEC's third largest crude producer. Meanwhile, India, the world's third largest oil importer and fourth biggest gas buyer, has weeks of energy supplies and continues to receive supplies from several routes amid escalating tensions in the globe's biggest energy supply regions. Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas Hardeep Singh Puri said that India is closely monitoring the evolving geopolitical situation and has no reason to worry, as under the leadership of PM Modi, the government has already diversified supplies in the past few years.
We had diversified the sources of supply, and out of the 5.5 million barrels of crude oil that India consumes daily, about 1.5 and 2 million only come through the Straits of Hormuz. We import roughly 4 million barrels through other routes, and our companies, the oil marketing companies, have enough stocks. Most of them have stocks up to 3 weeks. One of them has in fact 25 days stocks. And we are also confident that we can increase the supply of crude through other routes should the situation so warrant. We are in touch with all possible actors in this, the supply routes, etc. And I believe that there is no cause for any alarm on this score.
India continues to evacuate its nationals from Iran and Israel under Operation Sindhu. 285 Indians have returned from Mashhad late Sunday night, with the total evacuees from Iran now at 1,713. 162 more are being brought back from Israel. Minister Pabitra Margarita welcomed the returnees, who hailed the government's efforts, chanting Hindustan Zindabad. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya with this report.
Operation Sindhu continues to bring Indians home from conflict zones. 285 Indian nationals arrived safely in New Delhi from Mashhad on Mahan Air Flight W571, taking the total number of evacuees from Iran to 1,713. Minister of State for External Affairs Pabitra Margarita was present at the airport to receive the returnees. Overwhelmed with emotion, the returnees chanted Hindustan Zindabad and lauded the Indian government's swift and decisive efforts.
With the help of the Indian Embassy, we are successfully, we've managed to come here. Thank you to the Indian government. Thank you to all of the officials in Iran who helped us out through the entire journey.
It was tremendous job was done by the Embassy of India in Tehran. Especially not only the ambassador, including the whole staff, 24 hours, they were at the back of us, they were helping us in all respect of life. The situation was very tense, but with the support of the embassy, we are very confident and we have come back safely. Thank you for the Indian government, especially the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
We are very happy. There is the airspace is closed, Iran and Iraq, but only flights for Indians is flying from Mashhad to New Delhi. It's all because of Modi's diplomacy, and we really thank our Honorable Prime Minister and all the staff of the embassy in Iran for all their efforts, and we sincerely thank. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind.
Meanwhile, 162 Indians are also being brought back from Israel as tensions in the region rise amid the Iran-Israel conflict.
We are in constant contact with all our Indian nationals residing there in Iran and Israel also. So I'm very glad to say that from Israel also 62 Indian nationals have already crossed border to Amman of Jordan, and within a day or two those Indian nationals will also be brought safely to India.
Once again, India's diplomacy proves no matter where, no Indian will be left behind. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
A high-level Indian delegation led by Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri is visiting Ireland to attend the 40th anniversary memorial of the Air India Kanishk bombing at the Ahakista Memorial in Cork. The memorial service will be held today in the presence of Ireland and Canadian Prime Ministers and several other international dignitaries. This solemn event not only commemorates the terror attack but also reinforces the global commitment against terrorism. The dastardly mid-air bombing of Air India Kanishk Flight 182 in 1985, which claimed 329 innocent lives off the Irish coast, remains one of the most inhuman acts of terror in aviation history. In another gesture of regional solidarity, India has offered limited seats on flights from Amman to New Delhi for Sri Lankans wishing to return home from Israel, the Sri Lankan embassy in Israel announced. In fact, free transportation from Tel Aviv to Amman and onward flight to Delhi will be provided. However, travelers must arrange their own tickets from New Delhi to Colombo. Registration is open at the Sri Lankan embassy in Israel on 23rd and 24th of June. The concerned embassies will coordinate logistics. Meanwhile, Sri Lankan ambassador in Israel, Nimal Bandara, has requested the Sri Lankan expatriates to be vigilant and follow safety instructions issued by the Israeli government following missile attack by Iran in the northern and central parts of Israel last morning. Bandara said more attacks were expected from Iran following the involvement of the US forces with the Israel forces. Previously, India had extended similar support to Sri Lankans stranded in Iran under Operation Sindhu alongside citizens of Nepal. These actions reaffirm India's commitment to regional cooperation and humanitarian assistance in times of crisis. Situated along the Mumbai-Nashik Expressway, Goti Budruk Gram Panchayat in Nashik district in Maharashtra stands out as a shining example of what rural self-reliance can look like in action. While many village panchayats aspire to strengthen their financial base, Goti Budruk has already made significant strides by generating its own revenue through systematic collection of local taxes and fees.
With a population of around 24,800, Goti Budruk Gram Panchayat has shown the way to self-reliance by generating its own revenue through systematic collection of local taxes and fee. Often referred to as town of hospitals, the Panchayat mobilized an impressive 3.96 crore rupees through own source revenue in the financial year 2024-25. This included income from property tax, water charges, rentals and other local collections, demonstrating a clear commitment to local governance and fiscal autonomy. The 200 shops, along with compensation received for octroi tax, constitute the Gram Panchayat's largest source of income. Women entrepreneurs of the self-help group are also contributing to the revenue. Goti Budruk is a shining example of how grassroots institutions can take charge of their development agenda by fostering financial independence and resourcefulness. Shama Mishra from Mumbai for DD India.
Asian shares dipped in morning trade on Monday and oil prices briefly hit 5-month highs as the world awaited Iran's response following US strikes on 3 of its nuclear sites over the weekend. In South Korea, the benchmark Korea Composite Stock Price Index opened down at 2,992.2 from previous close of 3,021.84. In Tokyo, the Nikkei 225 index fell, dropping as much as 0.95% after trading opened. Hong Kong's benchmark Hang Seng Index opened 194 points lower at 23,335 points. China's Shanghai Composite Index opened down 10.44 points at 3,349.46. The Indian stock market benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty 50 tanked in opening trade on Monday amidst escalating geopolitical tensions in West Asia. Carlos Alcaraz captured his 5th title of the season on Sunday, defeating Jiří Lečeka in the summit clash of the HSBC Championships final. The 22-year-old Spaniard dug deep for a triumph to claim his 21st tour-level trophy and second at Queen's Club after winning on debut in 2023. Lečeka, competing in his first grass final, held his ground throughout the opening 2 sets, but Alcaraz delivered an inspiring deciding set display to prevail. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.